Welcome to Decoded with Liz Rose. Let's begin. So today we're talking about detachment, real detachment. I'm not talking about being cold, aloof, and pretending you don't care, but the good kind of detachment that is healthy for us. I know you're tired of struggling to feel balanced in your relationship. You love them, but you're constantly on edge, overthinking everything. You can't relax. You feel like you're always trying to fix something, and you don't know how to detach without feeling cold or like you don't care. Let's fix that. Because here's the thing, if you don't learn the art of healthy detachment inside your relationship, you'll burn yourself out trying to manage both your emotions and your partner's behavior. And you know that's what you're doing. You're not just in a relationship, you're also secretly running this 24/7 monitoring station in your mind, tracking their tone, their mood, their messages, their distance, their closeness, their silence. Every facial expression, you're constantly scanning. Are we okay? Did I do something wrong? Are they pulling away? Is this a sign? It's just exhausting. And when you're in that state, you start doing things that don't even feel like you. You're over-explaining, over-giving, overthinking, trying to fix things that aren't even broken and trying to control everything so that nothing hurts. And the wild thing is, you probably think you're doing this because you care so much about the relationship. But underneath it, what's really happening is that your nervous system is hunting for safety in all of the wrong places. You're trying to create safety by controlling, predicting, and preempting everything. And there is zero safety in that. No peace, no groundedness, just anxiety that's dressed up as comfort. So let's make something really clear from the start. Detachment is not you pretending to not care about your partner. It's not you disconnecting emotionally, and it's not you building a wall and acting like you're above it all. That's just avoidance, and that's a shutdown response. True detachment is, I love you, I'm present with you, I care deeply about this relationship, but my mental, emotional, and nervous system stability no longer lives and dies based on what you do every second of the day. I'm allowed to be well even when everything isn't perfect. I'm allowed to be grounded even when we're not in a smooth patch. And I'm allowed to be okay even when you're not in a good mood. Detachment is not about disregarding your feelings. It's about finally respecting them and saying to yourself, I refuse to abandon myself in order to avoid losing someone else, because that's what anxious attachment does inside a relationship. It pushes you to abandon yourself first, just to prevent them from maybe possibly one day abandoning you. Think about how that shows up. How many times have you felt your chest tighten when your partner seems a bit distant or distracted? And instead of acknowledging your own feelings with kindness, your brain goes straight into, what did I do? How do I fix this? How do I get them back to being loving, attentive, and connected? Maybe I should apologize even if I didn't do anything. Maybe I should make a joke. Maybe I should be extra sweet. Maybe I should behave perfectly so nothing can go wrong. That's you trying to control. And it's not because you're manipulating, it's because your system has learned, if I can keep them happy, I'll be safe. The problem is that it doesn't create safety. It actually creates self-abandonment. You stop expressing how you really feel. You walk on eggshells and you tolerate things that just don't feel good because you're terrified that if you speak up, they'll get angry or withdraw or maybe even leave. And then you wonder why you feel anxious, resentful, or like you're too much all the time. Let's zoom out and bring in the science for a second. When you're anxiously attached in a relationship, your brain is essentially running an old program built from past experiences. Maybe you had caregivers who were inconsistent, loving sometimes and distant at others. Maybe love felt conditional to you. Maybe you had relationships where affection was hot and cold, or conflict meant disconnection, or you were blamed for someone else's emotions. So now, as an adult, your brain is wired to be hypersensitive to any sign, any shift, any micro change in your partner's behavior, as if it's a threat to your survival. The amygdala, the part of the brain that detects danger, lights up and it says, alert, something feels off. We need to fix this right now or we're not safe. Your nervous system goes into overdrive and you get that knot in your stomach, your chest gets tight, and you can't focus on anything else. Then your mind jumps in with stories. They're pulling away and they're losing interest. They're annoyed with me. I've done something wrong. If I don't fix this, it's going to blow up. If I don't fix this, I might lose them. And what do? You overfunction. You people please. You start analysing their tone, their breathing, the length of their sentences, who they're texting, how much attention they're giving you. You ask, are you okay? 5 different ways. And when they say, I'm fine, your body doesn't believe them because your nervous system is already in threat mode. So now this is important. Your body is screaming, we're not safe. And instead of turning inwards and saying, okay, what do I need to give myself right now? What do I need to do to regulate? What do I need to anchor in myself? You turn outwards and say, I need them to change how they're acting so I can feel okay again. And that is where unhealthy attachment takes over. That's where your power leaves your body and goes straight into their hands. When you do that over and over, you train your brain that your sense of safety, worth, and okayness depends entirely on how connected or disconnected your partner feels today. If they're affectionate, you're calm. If they're tired or distant, you spiral. If they're short in their messages, your heart starts to race. If they're stressed, you take it personally. You're always asking the same silent question. Are we okay? Am I okay? Are you going to leave? Is this going to turn into something bad? So let's be very honest here. That is not a relationship dynamic that leads to long-term peace. And it's not magnetic in the least. It doesn't help the relationship breathe. It actually puts pressure on it. It makes your partner feel like they're responsible not just for themselves, but also for managing your internal state all the time. And that is so heavy for them. So when I say detachment makes you insanely magnetic, I'm not talking about playing hard to get. I'm talking about you no longer outsourcing your emotional life to your partner. Imagine a relationship where you deeply love your partner. You're fully present, you're affectionate, you're open, but you are not anxiously gripping them. You're not constantly worried about what will happen if they change, if they're in a bad mood, or if you have an argument. Instead, you have this quiet, steady belief that I'm okay, I'm whole, I'm allowed to have my needs, and I'm allowed to have boundaries. I can handle conflict, I can tolerate discomfort, and I can love you deeply without needing to control you. That kind of energy is incredibly attractive. It feels safe to be around. It gives your partner freedom to come closer to you because they no longer feel like your entire world is going to collapse if they have an off day. Now, let me give you an analogy. Think of your relationship like a garden. When you're anxiously attached, you're that person who digs up the soil every 20 minutes to see if the roots are growing. You overwater the plant. You move it around trying to find that perfect spot. You panic when a leaf turns yellow. You're constantly hovering, fussing and adjusting, and then you wonder why the plant looks stressed. Detachment is when you learn to tend the garden properly. You water it, you give it sunlight, you pull out the weeds when necessary, but you let the plant actually grow. You don't rip it out of the soil to check the roots every time you feel insecure. In relationship terms, that means that you show up with love, you communicate, you're honest, you're present, but you don't micromanage every moment. You allow both of you to have a bad day. You allow silence that isn't loaded with panic. You allow disagreement without immediately assuming the relationship is in danger. That's what healthy detachment looks like. Let's also talk about something uncomfortable but important. When you're anxiously attached, you'll often believe that if you just try harder, love harder, explain more, fix more, give more, you can prevent bad things from happening. You might think, if I can anticipate their needs, if I can keep the peace, if I can be easy, low drama, super understanding, they won't leave. They'll see how loyal I am. But that, my friends, is an illusion of control. You are not that powerful. You cannot control another human's wounds, choices, or readiness for intimacy. And that's both confronting and freeing. It's confronting because it means that your efforts won't guarantee anything. And it's freeing because you can stop trying to emotionally carry the entire relationship on your back. There are things that you genuinely cannot control. You can't control your partner's past, their triggers, their emotional maturity, their willingness to grow, their communication style if they refuse to work on it, their level of self-awareness, their willingness to seek help, and ultimately whether they choose to stay and build with you. You can influence, but you cannot control. And if you spend your life trying to fix what is not yours to fix, you will lose yourself and still not get the certainty that you crave. My point here is that there is no true safety in control. There is only exhaustion. So what is real safety then? Real safety is built from these beliefs. I can trust myself to see what's actually happening, not just what I want to see. I can trust myself to have boundaries and follow through. I can trust myself not to stay in something that's destroying me. I can trust myself to walk away if I need to, and I can trust myself to survive heartbreak and rebuild. I am whole even if this relationship doesn't work out the way that I want. Now, imagine living from that place inside your relationship. Detachment then becomes this grounded, steady state of, I want this, but I don't need to betray myself to keep it. You can love your partner and still say, no, that doesn't work for me. You can still be compassionate and hold your standards. You can stay connected during conflict without desperately scrambling back to get to normal, just so that your anxiety settles. Let's get even more practical and go into your everyday patterns. Maybe you recognize yourself in these. They come home a little bit quiet and your mind immediately goes, they're distant. Something's wrong. Maybe they don't love me anymore. Did I say something? Did I do something? Yesterday felt a little bit off. Oh no, this might be the beginning of the end. You have a disagreement, and instead of allowing it to be a disagreement between two adults, your brain spirals into, what if this builds up? What if this changes how they see me? What if they never feel the same again? I need to fix this now. We need to fix this now. We need to talk right now until everything feels perfect again. Or they're on their phone a lot and you start scanning. Who are they talking to? Why are they laughing? Why don't they laugh like that with me? Is there someone else? And your body then reacts and you feel that adrenaline, that discomfort. And instead of pausing and regulating yourself, you might accuse, withdraw, cling, or over-explain, or even go into detective mode. This is exactly the moment where your power either leaks out of you or it comes back to you. Those micro moments are where detachment is built. Not the big dramatic conversations, but in those everyday spirals where your brain tells you a catastrophic story and you automatically believe it. So here's what detachment looks like in real time. Your brain says, oh, they're quiet. It must be you. Start to panic. And you respond internally with, okay, my nervous system is triggered. This feels like danger, but is there actual evidence? Could they just be tired? Could something else be going on that has nothing to do with me? Before I ask them 10 times if we're okay, I'm going to regulate myself. I'm going to breathe, I'm going to ground, and if I still feel unsettled, I'll communicate from a calm place, not a panicked one. Here's another example. After an argument, your anxious side wants immediate resolution. You want to talk for hours until everything feels perfect again. Detachment here is saying, we can be in a bit of tension and I can still be okay. I don't need to force a resolution in this exact second. I can let things settle. I can trust that the argument doesn't define the whole relationship. And if this becomes a pattern that truly doesn't feel safe or healthy, I can address that from my grounded self, not from my fear. Detachment is also about not wasting energy worrying about things that might happen but haven't. Your brain loves to run simulations. What if they cheat? What if we break up? What if they suddenly decide they don't want this anymore? What if they meet someone else? What if they wake up one day and realize I'm not good enough? You can watch those thoughts come up, and instead of merging with them, you question them. Okay, brain, I see you trying to protect me, but is this actually happening, or are we just rehearsing pain that doesn't exist yet? The truth is, you can torture yourself with imaginary scenarios that never come true. You can lose sleep over conversations that only ever exist in your head. That time and energy, you'll never get that back. Detachment is you deciding, I'm not going to mentally live inside disasters that haven't happened. If something real shows up, I'll deal with it then. I'll trust myself to handle real problems when they arise because I refuse to live in imagined pain. Now let's talk about identity, because here's another trap. You start to define yourself as the anxious one, the one who cares more, the one who's always trying, the one who's always fixing. You start to think that's just who you are, but underneath all of that, you are whole. You existed before this relationship. You had a sense of self, your own likes, your own dislikes, your dreams, your preferences. And over time, if you've been anxiously attached, you've probably just chipped away at parts of yourself to keep the peace. Maybe you stopped doing hobbies that you loved because they didn't fit into the relationship rhythm. Maybe you reduced time with friends because you want to be available if your partner suddenly wants to hang out with you. Maybe you hold back your opinions because you don't want to trigger conflict. Slowly, you disappear from your own life and the relationship becomes your main identity. That's when attachment becomes suffocating for both of you. You feel overly dependent and they feel overly responsible, and the dynamic loses its equal footing. Detachment is about reclaiming you. It's you saying, I'm still me, even if I'm in this relationship. I have my own life, my own inner world, my own values. I'm not just a reaction to your moods. That doesn't mean that you become selfish or indifferent. It means that you bring a whole, grounded person into the partnership, not someone who needs a relationship to feel like they exist. The most magnetic people in relationships are the ones who can love deeply without dissolving. They can say, I love doing life with you, but I also have a life. I can sit with my feelings without demanding that you fix them. And I can bring my needs to the table without begging or threatening. And I can let you have bad days without making it about my worth. I can have faith that we're okay without interrogating you every time you're in your head. So how do you actually build this level of attachment in a practical way? Let's break it down into steps that you can start using immediately. First, you start by noticing your patterns without shaming yourself. The next time you feel that surge of anxiety in your body because your partner is quiet, distant, busy, or stressed, name it. My attachment system is activated. This doesn't mean I'm crazy. It means that my brain is trying to protect me based on old wiring. When you name the pattern, you create a tiny bit of space between you and the reaction. Second, you regulate your nervous system before you act. This is crucial. You cannot think clearly or communicate clearly when your body is in fight or flight mode. That might look like slowing down your breathing, grounding your feet into the floor, feeling your body, going for a short walk, or doing a simple nervous system exercise like inhaling for 4 counts and exhaling for 6. This is you telling your body, we're not in physical danger, we're safe right now, even if we feel emotionally unsettled. Third, you question the story in your head. Ask, what else could be true right now that has nothing to do with my worth? Could they be stressed, tired, preoccupied? Could this be about their internal world and not me? Am I reacting to them or to my past? You're not trying to gaslight yourself. You're just trying to bring logic into a moment that's being hijacked by fear. Fourth, you decide what is actually your responsibility. These things are your responsibility. Your behavior, your communication, your boundaries, how you respond, whether you speak up honestly. These are not your responsibility. Fixing your partner's mood, rescuing them from their own emotions, guessing what they're thinking, managing their triggers, being perfect so they never get upset, carrying the entire emotional labor of the relationship. Fifth, you communicate from a grounded place instead of a panicked place. Instead of, why are you being weird? What's wrong? Are we okay? Are you mad at me? Did I do something? You might say, hey, you seem a bit quiet tonight. Is everything okay? I'm not asking you to be different. I just want to understand if it's something on your mind or it's just been a long day. And if they say I'm just tired, practice believing them until there's a consistent pattern that truly signals that something is off. The more you practice this, the more your nervous system learns that not every dip in energy equals abandonment. 6, you consciously bring your focus back to your life when you feel yourself obsessing. That might mean doing something nourishing like reading a book, calling a friend, going to the gym, working on a project, or leaning into your hobbies. And not just as a distraction, but as a reminder, I'm a whole person, not just someone waiting in emotional limbo until my partner smiles at me again. 7th, you build a deep internal belief that you'll be okay no matter what. This doesn't mean you're indifferent to the relationship. It means that you believe in your ability to survive pain, to heal, to grow, to rebuild life, even if the worst case scenario happened. That belief loosens the grip of fear. When your brain isn't constantly convinced that the end of the relationship would be the end of you, it doesn't need to control every tiny variable. That's what gives you that quiet magnetic calm. You stop negotiating against yourself. You stop begging in your head. You stop thinking, I'll put up with it just so that they don't leave. And you start thinking, I want this relationship, but I will not trade my self-respect, my sanity, or my sense of self for it. If we're meant to grow together, then that growth will include my well-being too. And here's the beautiful twist. When you embody this kind of detachment, the relationship usually gets so much better. You become so much easier to connect with, not because you're suppressing your needs, but because you're not bringing panic to every little shift. Your partner feels less pressured to be perfect, so they can show up more authentically. There's more room for real honesty rather than forced reassurance. You give the relationship space to breathe. Finally, I want you to hear this deeply. You will absolutely lose yourself if you keep making your entire emotional world dependent on another person's behavior. And losing yourself will never make you happy long term. It might keep the relationship going for a while, but inside you'll feel empty. Detachment in the healthiest sense is you saying, I choose me and I also choose you. But if I have to ever choose between abandoning myself or losing this relationship, I will choose myself. That's not selfish. That is the foundation of secure love. The art of detachment is really the art of coming home to yourself while still keeping your heart open to your partner. It doesn't mean the relationship doesn't matter. It means that you stop worshipping it like it's your only source of oxygen. You stop wasting time worrying about things that haven't happened and might never happen. And you stop believing every anxious thought that your brain throws at you. You start asking, is this real? Is this actually mine to carry? Who do I want to be in this moment? Detachment is not the end of love. It's the end of fear running the show. And when fear stops running your relationship, that's when your true magnetism comes out to shine. You become more grounded, more confident, more present, and more you. And from that place, your partner can actually see you, feel you, and come closer to you without feeling trapped or responsible for your every feeling. Now, I'm going to summarize the steps for you so you've got a clear process to follow. Step number 1, interrupt your anxious thinking. Ask yourself, is this fact or is this fear? Your brain lies when it's scared and you need to question it. Number 2, come back into your body. Regulate your nervous system. Breath work, grounding, movement. You cannot think your way out of anxiety. You have to calm your body first. 3, stop fixing what is not yours to fix. You're not responsible for their emotions, their communication style, or their inner world. Focus on what you can influence, which is how you show up. 4, give space. Real space, not performative space. Take your focus off them. Put it back into your own life. If they come closer, great. If not, that's telling you something. 5, rebuild internal security. Affirm this daily. I am whole, I am safe, I belong to myself first. This is the foundation of attachment. 6, replace monitoring with boundaries. Stop observing everything they do like you're a human microscope and they're on trial. Instead, decide what's acceptable for you and stick to it. 7, take responsibility for your healing. Your partner can support your growth, but they cannot regulate your attachment style. That's yours. Listen, you're not hard to love. You're not too much. You're not broken. You've just been living in a bit of a survival loop. Detachment isn't losing love, it's losing fear. And when that fear drops away, you become magnetic without even trying. You stop chasing, gripping, and you start breathing. And from that place, the right people don't run. They finally have the breathing room to come closer to you. Your work is not to twist yourself into the most acceptable, least confrontational version of you so no one ever leaves you. Your work is to become so deeply anchored in who you are, what you feel and what you value, that you can fully love without losing yourself. Remember this, attachment pushes, detachment invites. That is the art of attachment. That is what makes you insanely magnetic. If you take one thing away from this, let it be this. You are already whole. You are whole before this relationship and you will be whole after any relationship, no matter how or if it ends. Have that deep knowledge that you will be okay. With each episode, you're learning the secrets that make you a master of attraction and modern love, and you're stepping deeper into your most magnetic self. Keep this between us. The world doesn't need to know our secrets. Thanks for listening. I'm Liz Rose, and I'll see you in the next episode.